Once again, we are losing another historic rivalry in college football. It feels like every year we are talking about how one of these games are coming to an end due to one reason or another. Rather than try to save them, school administrators and those in power choose to go the money route in the short term, hurting fans. The battle for the Iron Skillet is no different, as TCU basically said, "Make it a home game for us every year or we're ending it," back in 2023. A rivalry that is over 100 years old will now vanish. Y'all voted for this one. This is the story of the Iron Skillet. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know what your favorite rivalry matchup is in the comment section below. The battle for the Iron Skillet dates back to 1915, has been played 103 times, with this year's matchup being the 104th matchup. The game has been played every year since 1915, except 7 times. They did not play each other in 1919, 1920, 1925, 1987, 1988, 2006, or 2020. The only reason the two did not play each other in the 1980s was because of the death penalty for SMU. The rivalry is a big deal as it's the 5th oldest rivalry in the state of Texas. The only rivalries that have been played more in the state are TCU Baylor, Texas A&M, Texas Baylor, and Texas A&M Baylor. The first game of the rivalry took place during SMU's inaugural football season. TCU was led by head coach Ewing Y. Freeland, while SMU was led by Ray Morrison. TCU would win the game 43-0 and would win the first 3 matchups in blowout fashion. TCU would forfeit the 1918 game, giving SMU their first win in the series, but they would not get their first actual win until 1923, when they beat TCU 40-0 to start a 4-game winning streak. The rivalry would go back and forth, and in 1935, the teams matched up in what Grantland Rice of the New York Sun called the Game of the Century. A stadium that had a capacity of 30,000 seats crammed 36,000 fans into the game. SMU beat a Sammy Bow-led TCU team 20-14 to earn a spot in the Rose Bowl and the Southwest Conference title. They had gone to lose to Stanford in the Rose Bowl, while TCU beat Carnegie Tech in the Sugar Bowl, and both would claim national championships that season. Until the 1950s, the rivalry was dead even at 13-13-6. TCU would go 8-2 that decade, and SMU would dominate the rivalry in the 1970s and won 7 of the 8 matchups in the 80s before the death penalty. At the time, SMU led the series 34-32-7. They would both stay in the Southwest Conference until 1995, when both moved to the WAC in 2000. TCU would start to run away with the series when they joined the Big 12, while SMU ended up in the American Conference. The 100th matchup would take place in 2021 after the 2020 matchup was canceled due to COVID. It led to SMU's first consecutive victories in the series since the early 90s. Flames would be stoked even more when Sonny Dykes left SMU to take the TCU job, and since then, Dykes has been one of the key people speaking out about ending the rivalry. He was ejected during last year's matchup that saw the Mustangs win 66-42. Since 1989, TCU has gone 21-9 and holds a series lead 53-43-7. So where does the Iron Skillet come from? Well, there's 2 stories, but both originated back in 1946. SMU claims the trophy was born from a pregame trash talk in the parking lot outside the stadium. An SMU fan was frying up frog legs before the TCU game when a TCU fan suggested the winner of the game should get the skillet and the frog legs. TCU's version of the story goes that the SMU Student Council felt that the rivalry needed a trophy. TCU agreed, and they would eventually agree on an Iron Skillet. SMU would win the 1946 game 30-13, and the two sides met in the Italian Village in Dallas to award the inaugural trophy to the Mustangs. The trophy was presented to the student body president rather than the coaches or players. The transcription read, "Presented in the token of Southwestern friendship to the winner of the annual TCU-SMU football game. Student tradition sponsored jointly by student governments of the universities." The original trophy would be lost sometime after the 50s and was replaced by the current trophy in 1993. The rivalry is sadly coming to an end this year, with there being no game scheduled for the near future. The rivalry is finding the same fate the Texas A&M rivalry experienced before the two reunited in the SEC. Along with that rivalry, the last time Texas played Baylor was in 2023, and the last time Baylor played Texas A&M was in 2011. The loss of the Battle of the Iron Skillet, that means 3 of the 5 oldest rivalries in the state of Texas are no longer being played, although the schools have had so much history with each other. That truly sucks for college football in my opinion. The state has even seen the end of the Battle of the Piney Woods when Sam Houston moved up to the FBS level and joined Conference USA. That rivalry saw the Bearcats play Stephen F. Austin, and the two played each other 96 times, which makes 4 of the top 6 longest running rivalries in the state coming to an end. Now, fans will just fight on social media rather than on the gridiron. TCU and SMU are only 40 miles away from each other. There's so much history between the two. They recruit the same areas, and the players on the respective rosters have played against each other since youth football. The rivalry means something to the fans. As Dave Campbell's Texas Football wrote last year, maybe college football is more than a way to make rich execs and administrators richer. Maybe the tradition and history of the sport deserves a voice. TCU announced its intentions to pause the Iron Skillet ahead of the 2023 season. This occurred right before SMU was voted into the ACC, making them a Power 4 conference member. The amazing teams replacing SMU, Arkansas State, Stanford, Sam Houston, Duke, Purdue, Southeastern Louisiana, and Texas State all signed for future dates through 2030. TCU Athletic Director Mike Buddy explained, "It's former TCU Director of Athletics Jeremiah Donati's strategy, and I agree with it. You get Duke, Stanford, and North Carolina or Purdue, and hope they're in the top 50 when the game is there. College football playoff selection comes down to the strength of schedule. That game is not going to kill you. Everyone plays an FCS opponent, and I see it. You want a group of 5 and Power 4 opponents that you feel that 8 out of every 10 years is winnable, and you set your sights on winning the Big 12 title. I think we need to get a marquee opponent to come to Carter Stadium, but you are better positioned to do that if you get to the Big 12 title game." The reason they chose to get rid of the SMU game? Money. Former athletic director Mike Donati indicated that the rivalry was being paused because the Frogs wanted to add another home game to the yearly schedule. He was open to playing SMU yearly at home, but had no desire to travel to SMU. Ironically, TCU chose to move the North Carolina game overseas to Dublin, which pissed off fans because of the cost to get to the game. When I was at the game this year, I heard stories of people spending nearly $10,000 to be at the game. They moved the game for the exposure on ESPN, being one of the few games being played that day. SMU's athletic director Rick Hart said in a statement when TCU made the decision, "It's disappointing for the Metroplex football fans. This is a rivalry that has spanned a century plus. The battle for the Iron Skillet. Dallas vs. Fort Worth, Doak Walker vs. Sammy Baughan, the Pony Express vs. LaDainian Tomlinson, and more. Our hope is that TCU will resume the series, as we at SMU want to continue the rivalry in perpetuity." Dave Campbell's Texas Football made a great point saying, "What happened to the game we love? Texas is too cool to schedule TCU or Baylor or Texas Tech. In turn, TCU is too cool to play SMU, and Houston blushes at the thought of losing to Rice more than once a decade. Sam Houston won't dip into the FCS ranks to play SFA and give the Jacks a chance at the scoreboard. It's all lame." As I cover more and more of these rivalry games, my heart continues to break to see where the game I grew up loving has ended up. I also think back to over a decade ago when the Big Ten wanted to end the yearly Wisconsin-Minnesota matchup for the good of the conference, for the divisions, and the two schools came together and said, "Fuck no." They know that the rivalry means something. Fans aren't happy about this move either, as one TCU fan wrote in the opinion section of the Star-Telegram of how disappointed he is in the Horned Frogs for dodging SMU. Amon G. Carter Stadium is rarely full for home non-conference games, but it was when they played SMU and when they played Colorado in 2023. Mac Engel writes, "When TCU announced it would pause its series against SMU, TCU coach Sonny Dykes said the reasoning was a business plan. Gary Patterson should teach a college philosophy course on the fake hard game. He learned from the master, former Kansas State head coach Bill Snyder. TCU didn't want to play road games against teams outside the Power 4. At the time of the announcement, SMU was a Group of 5 school. Patterson and Snyder would often say fans want those games. But what they really want are 9 or 10 win seasons at the end of the season. Patterson would find the Power Conference school at the bottom of the standings like Virginia. In 2009, he agreed to $1 million buy game at Clemson. At the time, Clemson was not Clemson, and he was 100% confident that he had the better team. The game wasn't even televised, and on a rainy day, TCU won 14-10. When TCU was in the Mountain West, it had home-and-home series against Baylor. TCU also scheduled Stanford and Arkansas non-conference games. Their team was ranked when they played. TCU wants the easy way out, and they are killing a rivalry over it. Before you write in the comment section that I'm a TCU hater, any video I've covered on this channel about TCU, I've spoken very fondly of them. They were one of my favorite teams to watch growing up because of their uniforms. I have to call a spade, and that's why I say they are dodging SMU. What makes things even worse is that TCU is acting like they didn't kill the matchup, writing articles like a trip down rivalry lane before the last scheduled Iron Skillet. It pisses me off. We are losing all these historic rivalries. It also pisses me off that Sonny Dykes has basically been at the forefront of ending the rivalry after coaching at both schools so he knows how much it matters. I hope at some point decision makers will realize how dumb of a move this is and choose to bring the rivalry back like we saw with the Border War this year. Regional rivalries are what makes this sport so special. What do you think? Who wins the Battle of the Iron Skillet this year? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.